Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of 1801 Live. My name is Hannah, and I am the host of this podcast. But today we have some amazing guests on. So we partnered with the UofSC's Collegiate Chapter of NAACP in order to have a conversation, specifically in honor of Black History Month, but just have a conversation about the history of this chapter, the impact that it's had on many different campuses across the nation and even just worldwide, but specifically how they are planning to make an impact here at the university. So before we get into that conversation, I would love it if everyone would introduce themselves, just share a little bit about yourself and specifically what role you have within the organization, and anyone can start it off.
Well, I'll go first. My name is Caley Bright. I am the president of the Collegiate Chapter here at University of South Carolina. I am a freshman, and I'm also involved in Freshman Council and AAAS Freshman Council, and I'm really excited to talk to Hannah and everyone else today.
I'll go next. I'm Robert Morris, and I'm a sophomore mechanical engineering major here at the University of South Carolina, and I am the presidential advisor here for the NAACP College Chapter. I'm a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, as well as a member of NSBE and Bond.
All right, hi guys, I'm Krishna Alexander. I'm a freshman here at the University of South Carolina, and I am proud to serve as vice president for the collegiate chapter of the NAACP here on campus. I'm also involved with RHA as a senator and involved with AAAS as well.
Hey, I'm Reylan. I'm a freshman exercise science major, and I'm the social media and communications chair for the NAACP.
And to wrap it up, I'm also Raelin. I'm a junior here at the University of South Carolina, public health major with a minor in African American studies. And NAACP used to be my baby until I passed it off to them. So I'm super excited to see where they take it. And I'm super excited just to see where NAACP will lead our university going forward.
Okay, perfect. So now we all know each other. You all know them. So first, want to start off of just talking about few years back when the chapter was first here on campus. And so I know you guys had to dig up a little bit of history about how that came to be, the impact that they had on campus before, in order to see how you wanted to bring it back. And so if any of you guys would just like to talk about if you met with former alumni who were part of the organization, or what were the ins and outs in order to find out the history to bring the chapter back to campus.
I think this is me. Okay, so when I first got onto campus in 2018, there was not a collegiate chapter of the national event, NAACP on campus. So looking through the history of just like what happened at the university over the past couple of years between the incidents at Gambrell, we've pretty much had a racial incident of some sort every semester since we got here. We were like, why is there not a governing body to speak up for the minority students on campus? And upon doing some digging and some research, I figured out that some previous students that were a class above me, Cheyenne Blaine is her name. She's recently graduated, had already began the work of like bringing back the NAACP chapter. From my understanding, it was just a lot of miscommunication between the national level and our collegiate chapter, and it caused some stipulations to occur. So upon just bringing it back, it was making sure that we were in standing with nationals and just making sure that everything was laid out as far as the university went. When I entered into the mix of getting NAACP back, there was already a constitution drafted, but it didn't necessarily fit the national chapter's organizational rules, nor did it fit our leadership and service center's organizational rules. So over the past about year, we took the time to just break down the Constitution, make sure that it matched the requirements for both, and then took all that information. We created a draft exec board, what those positions would be able to do and how they would function within our collegiate chapter. And then at about that point in time, COVID happened. So we all just took a back seat, and NAACP was something that honestly took a back burner in my mind and a couple other students who were working on it in mind. But with the introduction of some of my favorite freshmen on campus that I have had the opportunity to serve in different capacities, I was like, this is something that I think would be perfect for y'all to work on. I had actually met with Robert when I was working to get everything booted back up last year. So giving it to them to just let it be their like child to flourish, and they're able to see how it situates within our campus community is super exciting for me to watch. And I'm super proud of the work that they've done since. I hope that answers everything.
It does, but you made a perfect transition into other people speaking on the matter. So you had a lot of groundbreaking and just starting the conversation up after former students above us did the same thing. And then now, Robert, Caley, Krishna, Reylan, you all really were the ones to execute it and make it come into fruition. So could you talk a little bit about that and how that was not only the ups, but also the downs, and specifically doing that during a global pandemic?
Okay, I'll go first, but I know Robert has a lot to add on in this. But one of the first things that I had to do was reach out to older students, and because of me knowing Reylan, Cook, and knowing other people that have graduated, it made it easier just to look at the people who were starting this or who had finished it here. So I reached out to one of the best alumni that I know that went to this school, and it was Jawan, and he helped me get in touch with one of the past presidents because they had an email account, they had an Instagram account, a Twitter account, and we wanted to know what they were doing, if it was still active, if we could have the password. So that was a lot of hoops that we had to jump through for that. Then we knew right off the bat that we were going to need a good social media chair, and that is Raelin Lanham. So she made our new Instagram account, and we just got a lot of people to see it. And with all the organizations that we are involved in, we got a lot of people to get involved and interested in what we were doing.
Yeah, and to add on to that, we also didn't have access to a lot of the financial information that the past chapter had a couple years ago. And so that was definitely a lot that we had to tackle, and we're still tackling it now. But, you know, like I said, we have a great exec board, and everybody's working super hard to make sure that this will be a well-established chapter and that it won't have to be recharted in the future.
I love it. And I should have mentioned this a little bit earlier, asked this question previous to my first few questions, but for those who might not know, what is NAACP?
The NAACP stands for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. So that is what our acronym is.
Okay, perfect. And so heard a little bit about the background. Now it is on campus. What did you all enjoy or were excited about when forming the chapter? So not after you got in your positions, but what were the goals and what were you striving to do once coming together to try to bring the chapter back to campus?
I can go for that one too. I think that this club, I wanted it to be somewhere where we didn't see the same faces over and over again. And I wanted it to be somewhere where people could come and it be their first leadership position or their first time being in front of a crowd. And I wanted it to be more of a learning experience because I am still learning in this position, being that I'm a freshman and I've never been president of any organization, not alone a national organization. So this is a learning experience for everyone. And I think that that is what's most important about this. And it was also like, that was a goal of mine, but it was also fun getting to see how you start an organization here because it is honestly really easy. You don't even have to have an advisor, but we do have an advisor. But we started it, we did stuff over Christmas and Thanksgiving break. I remember sitting in my dad's house in Florida doing modules that you have to go through to get your charter like reactivated. So that was pretty cool that I had to do that. But
Yeah, and I'll honestly say when me and Caley first met back over the break, Thanksgiving, Christmas break, and we talked about what our goals were for the next semester, honestly, I think it's safe to say that where we are now, we would have never imagined that we would have been where we are now a few months ago. And so I think it's tremendously a blessing that we've been supported and nourished and have been given great opportunities to prove ourselves that we really want to be the forefront of political change.
And just piggybacking, off of what Robert and Caley said, the beautiful thing about this chapter that I've loved since being established and getting into this role is just seeing the amount of student leadership, not just from the exec board, but seeing the amount of students that want to make a change and that want to make sure that this chapter makes an impact on campus. But it's also been amazing working with these amazing people on this exec board to make sure that we keep that going.
Yes, I feel like this is a question that many people probably have that they don't know how to say. But of course, this organization is for the advancement of color people, but specifically white students and white individuals. They probably see NAACP and perhaps they want to help, but maybe because of the name or because of who we are, they think, oh, is that for me? Can I do something? Can I not? So what would you say to white students or even allies and how they can get involved? Is this an organization for them, or are they more of allies to the organization and all the things that they're doing?
I would definitely love to talk about that. When me and Caley, because we grew up in Aiken and we were part of the Aiken County Youth Council, for a long time, there was actually a lot of Caucasian people who were in leadership in Aiken County. And so we grew up seeing the NAACP being that bridge that connects African Americans and white Americans who want to see a change in our country. And so that is what we brought to the table when we got here on campus. We didn't just see it as an organization just for African Americans. We definitely invite all people who want to see a change in our communities.
Perfect. And I think that leads me to, and I know, Robert, you touched on it a little bit about just reflecting on how far NAACP as a chapter and then you guys in your positions have grown just even in the past few months. But I feel like it's safe to say, especially this past week, it's probably have elevated to new and higher heights. And so let's talk about the elephant in the room. And currently right now, there is a heightened attention for renaming buildings on campus. And so I know that you all put out a statement, but just share some of your thoughts about why this means so much to you all, and then also how NAACP plans to be a part of the movement and even lead students in that movement for change.
I'll go first, but I know a lot of people have a lot to say about this one. So why this is important to us is because we are the NAACP. We brought this organization back to campus, so there would be somewhere that, and like I said in the statement, a core central organization for everyone to go to when issues like these happen. Because like Reylan Cook said, something like this happens every semester. So this is the first semester that a group of students have had one organization to look to, and it's not been, oh, let's go to student government today, let's go to AAAS tomorrow. We know NAACP is going to head this up, and we're not going to quit, and we're not going to go away, we're not going to be forgotten. You can't silence us, and that is one of the biggest messages that I want to put out there, especially because me, Raelin, and Krishna are freshmen. Robert is a sophomore. We'll be here for a while, so they have a rude awakening coming that the NAACP is back and we're awake. But that's all I'll say about that.
And to add on to what we're doing with a lot of the things that are going on with the renaming of the buildings. Yesterday, I was on the phone with Mr. Charles White. I got in contact with him. He was a former national field organizer for the NAACP. And he just reminded me that when you are trying to accomplish a task as big as something like this, you have to remain focused on the primary goal and objective. Is that too often young people, when emotions are high, it's easy to address a whole slew of problems instead of focusing on that one goal and one primary objective. And so he just said that throughout this process to focus on renaming the buildings, and the other fights, we'll leave that for another day.
And just piggybacking off of what Robert said, we are focused on that one sole purpose, even though emotions are high on our campus right now. The entire purpose of the NAACP is to eliminate race-based discrimination. We are here for equality of rights. We're here to make sure that students are included, and we are on a university that promotes diversity and inclusion. So that's why we're here to make sure that, just like our purpose says, we're driving that point and making sure that what needs to be done will get done. And if that means because we are at the forefront, that means we have to be ready and willing to address these issues head on.
Okay, and now I want to hear a little bit about your personal experiences and relations and passions about this topic in specific. Would love to hear from everyone on the call, but specifically like dig deep into why does this matter? For some, it might just look like it's just renaming buildings, but why is it deep to you? What past experiences have you had on campus? Just a little bit about you and yourself personally and why it elevated you to do this work, to bring back the chapter and to be in the roles that you are in today.
Okay, I'll start off. So like Robert said, we grew up in the NAACP, and the NAACP is somewhere where I learned to speak in front of people. I remember right now Robert's mother like yelling at us, or not yelling at us, but telling us like we need to speak up, we need to be assertive. So I got a lot of like just soft skills from the NAACP, and I also learned where I love to do service the most through the NAACP, because we are a service-based organization as well as political advocacy organization. So I did a lot of that in high school. And then just coming to USC, obviously it's a majority white campus. So it is a little bit harder for Black students to find their place if you're not looking hard, honestly. So I was involved in a lot of things, but it did feel like something was missing. And I knew it was the NAACP, and I knew that we had to get this started back. And my biggest like want for the NAACP is for it to be somewhere where everyone could come to, and I wanted it to be not cliquish. I didn't want it to be like a secret society or anything like that. I just wanted it to be like somewhere we could have fun, where we could all get along and do like something for the greater good. And I think that's exactly what we are doing.
Like Caley was saying, I joined to do like community service. I wanted people to know that there was a place where they can speak and feel however they want to feel without being judged. And I feel like even our exec board is so diverse. Even like everybody has their own different personality, and I feel like everybody feels safe in the space that we're in at every meeting. So I think that's probably my favorite part.
I'll go next. I started, I want to say 5th grade in the NAACP, and it was primarily by force. I mean, to be completely honest, my mom made me do it. And for years, I just kind of went to the meetings, went to the community service, because in a way I was forced to do it. And I really didn't find that purpose for wanting to do it until about 9th grade. And once I really started developing into that person that wanted to see a real change in our communities, wanted to speak out and wanted to encourage others to speak out, I just really gained a passion for the NAACP. And knowing that the NAACP is focused on change, policies, as opposed to just having a rally and then everybody disperses and nothing happens afterwards. I'm really passionate about that. And so the NAACP is definitely a very consistent organization, and we want to follow that role, yeah, we want to be a role model for consistent change. And so we are not going to stop with just the press conference next Wednesday. We're not going to stop with just attending the Board of Trustees meeting next Friday. We're going to go and meet with state lawmakers. If possible, we're going to talk to them about repealing the Heritage Act, if possible. We're going to give them suggestions for different names. And we're going to continue to fight and be consistent with wanting to see these buildings renamed.
When Caley approached me about this organization just coming to life, it was as if a fire had just already been set. It's like we were already ready to get to work before the exec board was established, before members had started flooding in. Everyone was looking for that place that people could come together, put together amazing ideas to make sure that change, positive change, was put forth on this campus. And I feel as though that's exactly what the NAACP is doing. I fell in love with the NAACP being in grade school, just hearing about the historical significance about what it does, since it is the largest civil rights organization in the nation. And so all the work that its members did prior, of course, to us, and things that they fought for, the rights that they fought for, it puts a fire underneath you, because everything that they fought for got us to where we are now. So it's like a charge to us to just continue to push forward and to help those that will come after us so that that legacy can continue.
I love that. Legacy is so huge. And I want to touch on that. But before that, I heard many different phrases: continue forward, consistency, being persistent. And although these are great words, in reality, and I know you guys can feel it too, it's easier said than done. And so knowing, and this chapter specifically in this organization has been known for its impact, but also it took consistent pressure, years and years, and different individuals and that legacy lineage in order to get things done. And so how do you guys plan to stay motivated, plan to keep the momentum up? I know, Robert, you mentioned typically it's common for there to be a rally or, yeah, we're all in one day, give it a week, we're kind of all in, give it 2 weeks. I mean, maybe, and so how do you keep that persistence, pressure, and that momentum within yourself? And then how do you express that to others that are also looking up to you all?
I definitely want to speak on that because it's like you said, that's very common, especially with young people. And just constantly reminding them that, you can achieve anything, first and foremost, having that positive love towards everyone. But at the same time, you have to hold everyone accountable for themselves. You have to realize that this isn't always going to be a fun job. There are going to be long nights and early mornings, and there are going to be hard fights, some that you win and some that you lose. But you have to realize why you're doing this. And once you realize that, you'll never want to stop.
I think on the matter of how we keep ourselves going and why I want to do this every day is because I'm truly passionate about what I'm doing, and that's the people that we're looking for. All the people on this call are passionate. Reylan will go to sleep making flyers and wake up in the morning finishing them. I mean, Krishna, Robert, we're all really passionate about what we're doing, and I think that it's important to keep finding people when they come here their freshman year that are just as passionate, because there's always going to be that handful that are really dedicated to the cause, and that's who we're looking for to be in our organization, because that is what's going to keep us going and cause us not to have to reactivate it again. But I plan on the NAACP being here till I'm here at least, but I definitely want to keep it going afterwards. And how we keep students involved, I think it was important that we had a meeting with a lot of Black student leaders on Monday night just to talk about this. And I said one of my main concerns was the student body president, Izzy, and Hannah, vice president, put out a statement, and I saw it was getting a lot of attention, but what was bothering me was that tomorrow it's just going to be posted 23 hours ago, so I didn't want people to forget, and I think that's why we wanted to put out a statement so people knew that this issue is not going away, and that more organizations are hopefully putting out statements. We talked about it a lot with them, but just having everyone as passionate about one issue will cause the momentum to keep going and people to want to keep doing what we're doing.
I would definitely say how I keep myself going as far as being in this role is just remembering, you'll hear me say it a lot, is carrying that legacy that people fought for. The things that we are doing now, prior members had to go through a whole lot more just to get, their foot in the door, just to get their voice heard. We have the opportunity to make change, which in itself is still hard at times, but we get to do it in a different way that's a little bit easier than what they did. And also just, we wouldn't be good leaders if we didn't stand for what we believed in, and that's just fighting for change. I think that it's important that students also realize that it's not just the few exec board members and the few members that are really on fire that have been involved with NAACP before they got here. Whether you just got here or you've been a member for a while, the NAACP is nothing without the members. We can't do anything, we can't be anything without the members behind us. And it helps to have amazing leaders such as Caley and Robert and Reylan to, take charge with that. But also, it's not about the position for us. That we are here simply just to make a positive change on this campus and to see it through to the end.
I love that so much. We've all heard it, but it takes a village. And for leadership to be true leadership, it's hard for you to be a leader and advocate for others if you're not willing to stand up and advocate for yourself. And so specifically talking to a bunch of Black student leaders at the university, it's huge. And the things that y'all are doing are huge. And because it is personal, right? So many of these issues is not only advocating for the rest of the student body, but being Black students, it is personal, and it's ultimately you advocating for yourself as well. And so oftentimes I have to remember that in everything that I do. I feel like diversity and inclusivity, they're now buzzwords. We have to throw them around everywhere, but it really is just embedded in what you do. You shouldn't have to use those words for people to know that you're actually doing the work, right? And so in every conversation, academics, whether it's student life, whether it's just getting your books, right? Those things should be going through your mind in order to be going towards the cause and really exemplifying those values rather than just reiterating it and saying it. But again, with the legacy, I know that you all talked about how you were inspired by others before you, but want to know a little bit more about how do you plan on passing down that lineage or paying it forward to others that come after you. So I believe we all know mentorship is important. There's probably some people that have come before you that made a mark on you to make you where you are today. So how do you guys plan on paying that forward for people that come behind you?
Well, I definitely want to say, first, I definitely appreciate Raelin for coming to me because I saw that she wanted to see a freshman or someone younger than her be a part of something and take charge. And so when I saw that, and I kind of reflected that by passing it to Caley, because at a time she asked me if I wanted to be the president, and I was like, no, I definitely want you to take charge on this and do the best that you can do, and I'll always support you. And so that's why we kind of have this position of presidential advisor. And so anything that she ever needs, I'll definitely be there to help. And same thing with the vice president and any other exec members. And I definitely encourage them next year, this time next year or next semester, to find a freshman and encourage them to join the NAACP or just be the best that they can be in whatever they're doing. Because it's definitely important to pass on that torch, because it's important for our community to grow, not just in the NAACP, but in our entire community, whether they're African American, whether they're white, Latino, as long as our community is growing, that's all that matters.
I also think that not just if we do our job, but if we're doing our jobs correctly and people see that we're actually doing changes happening because we are at the forefront of this, I think that will get people interested in I know I look up to Hannah and Izzy through student government, and I wanted to do it when I first got to UofSC because I saw the big things that they were doing and just how they were just great people. So I feel like if we have that same attitude and like we show that to younger students that come after us, then we won't have any problem with getting people to join our organization. And I think that what we're doing is important, and we just have to keep going and stay steadfast with what we're doing, and that'll definitely motivate people to join.
And just piggybacking off of what both of them, Caley and Robert, have said, it's also important, I think, just yes, extending that hand down. But one thing that I admire, just like Caley would mention, Jawan, who's a graduate of the university, and you have these upperclassmen that they weren't only like extending their hand, but they were personable to us. They were approachable. It's important for us to just always have, even in the midst of adversity, in the midst of all these hard things that we're working through, to keep that smile, because while it may not be easy, it's a joy for us to do this because we enjoy it. And that's the only way you're going to have positive change, is to be that light. So of course, looking at people like Reylan and Jawan and even Hannah and Izzy, who are our exec board, executive president and vice president, we're able to go to them with our issues. And it's not like, oh, they're people that are so high and mighty. They're personable and able to relate to us. So we appreciate you guys for that, because it poured back into us. So now we're able to continue the light that you showed us, so we can bring people. And I also want to see the NAACP become more diverse. Yes, it is for the advancement of colored people, but when you're becoming more advanced, that means the community in itself needs to grow and be diverse. So I would hope that, if, just like Caley said, if we're doing our job right, people, not just African Americans, but all the way throughout the spectrum, can be a part of this, so we can make change on campus.
I love that. And it brings me, I don't want to get too off topic, but just even making the chapter diverse, and then you expanded it to just having a diverse campus. We know minority recruitment is huge. I know, Caley, you're thinking about becoming an ambassador, but just hearing you guys speak and the goals, I just see, and I know Robert mentioned we got to stay tactic of like focus on one issue at a time, but just the potential of how like there's so many things to go after and how everything is connected. So even by you guys advocating to rename buildings, sparking a movement to where other students to the left and to the right of you, or even under you, are looking up and seeing that change, wanting to do more in their personal lives and their personal roles. Maybe they're in other organizations that are predominantly white. Maybe they are a university ambassador and they're like, never thought about even mentioning anything besides the buildings and their names on campus. And so maybe I'm going to go to a desegregation garden, or maybe I'm going to touch on a little bit of the African-American history on campus while giving these tours to prospective students in order to recruit them. So just hearing you guys, we always think of bigger picture and like the bigger things being done. And although that is great and we need to be focused on that, just by reaching towards that goal, you're accomplishing so many other things that you might not even see that are making a huge impact. And so I cannot say thank you enough, but to that point, how can students get involved or become members of the NAACP?
I have answered this question about 10 times this week alone. So here we go. We have an Instagram page, UofSC _NAACP, and that will have everything on it that you need to join. But you click the Linktree link in our bio, and there will be a place called NAACP.org where you can pay your national dues. It's $15 for 20 and under, and then $30 for 21 and over. And then if you don't want to pay dues, you do not have to by any means. I understand that. If you just want to get involved, our meetings are every other Monday. So we just had one this week. So the next one will be the next month, following Monday, not next week. And then just stay involved. We'll be at every Hip Hop Wednesday the rest of the semester. So you'll definitely see us out there. But definitely join the Remind. It's text 81010 to @UofSCN. And then, you can see everything that we're doing that way.
Just to add on to those national dues, if you do pay them, that gives you access to several scholarships. So I definitely want to emphasize the importance of paying those national dues, because I don't want to, for it to be a secret, but I mean, I receive scholarships from the NAACP every semester because I keep my GPA up and I've been involved within the NAACP. So if you, having a little extra money doesn't hurt anyone. So if you are wanting to be involved, I would definitely recommend paying national dues so you can qualify for several scholarships.
And then Robert, you touched on it a little bit earlier, but what can we see events or things happening in the next upcoming weeks in order to push towards this movement that you guys are creating and sparking?
Oh, we definitely want to push community service. With everything that's been going on recently, we've had to put that in the back burner, but we're definitely going to be partnering with different organizations within Richland County to be doing community service on the weekends or throughout the week. And we also want to raise funds because a lot of the work that we get done requires funding, such as t-shirts and tents and different pamphlets for recruiting members. So those are our two main objectives. And also next semester, the NAACP has what they call game changers. And there are 6 of them. I don't know them off the top of my head, but when we have events that are circumnavigated around those game changers, we can publicize them and compete on the state, regional, and national level to get recognition through the NAACP and have additional funds go to our chapter. And so we definitely want to focus on those game changers in the next semesters coming.
And just to emphasize that next week, if you guys want to get involved, like right off the bat, we do have the press conference on Wednesday, and that will be on Davis Field, kind of in front of the Thomas Cooper Library at 1 p.m. And we're asking everyone to wear black, just so that we're unified and they can see that this is not just a Black student issue, that this is a student issue and we're all unified as one. And then towards the end of the month, we will be having our Black History Trivia Bowl. And that is multiple teams of 4. If you guys just want to get a team together, it doesn't have to be from a certain organization, but the grand prize is $400 and you can sign up. We'll be putting something out next week about that, but you can sign up on the Instagram page and you just need a team name and a team captain and we'll give you a study guide and we'll be able to have that trivia bowl too for everyone.
And then just off the top of your head, doesn't have to be NAACP related, but any other events that students should or could come to specifically this month and in honor of Black History Month as well?
Yeah, so a big one that I'm a part of is Freshman Council's Beneath the Bricks Black History Program for UofSC, and that will be next Friday, February 19th at 6 p.m. in the ballroom, and you can RSVP on Garnet Gate. If you go to the Student Government's events page, I'm pretty sure it's there. We are very excited to have a lot of the guests that we have. The Mayor Benjamin will be coming. We have some past graduates. We have a lot of cool alumni coming and then current students as well. So we want to start the conversation that we started here today with Hannah and the conversation that we've been having for the past week and the past semester. And it'll be fun. There's also some entertainment. We have Touch of Faith coming. Their gospel choir will be singing. Robert's fraternity, Alpha Alpha, will be strolling. So I think it'll be a fun event. It is business casual, so bring out your business dresses and business pants for that event. But we would love to have everyone that could make it. It is limited seating, but I'm pretty sure there's some spots left open on Garnet Gate right now.
And
Perfect.
just to add one more event, on February 25th at 6 p.m., the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion will be having an event around Black women and trailblazing in leadership. You can find that information on UofSC_dive in on the Instagram or on the Twitter page, and it should be in the bios.
Love it. Loving all of these events. Of course, my favorite month. But just to end on kind of a personal and vulnerable note, but I feel like it's important and I feel like it's the thing that drives the work the most is just a personal testimony or story. I know that we've been talking about renaming buildings in and out of this conversation, but specifically why that is important to you guys. I know like specifically Caley, you live in Women's Quad And so you're living in the buildings right now that we're trying to rename. So how is that for you as a Black woman? Of course, all of us have been in and out of these buildings that we are trying to get renamed. And so just talking a little bit about how it's personal to you and why it means so much to you.
Yeah, so definitely really surreal that I live and have to see Sim's name every single day. But it's more than that, honestly. It's the fact that the people that name these buildings and that are on the commissions of university history, and the state legislators and the board of trustees, it's the fact that they actually care how I feel. And that's what really is just, it makes me so passionate about, because just like myself and other African American women that contribute so much to this school, it's who are you valuing, and are you valuing your Black students like you should? So that honestly is the biggest deal for me, and it's more than just a name. Even though names mean so much to people, what your name is means a lot. It's more of the fact that, do they really care how we feel? Do they notice that we're uncomfortable? And do they want us here at that point? So that is what I want them to hear from our message, that it hurts us, we're uncomfortable, and we need you guys to do something about this as soon as possible.
All right. Well, if there's no one else that would like to give a testimony, thank you so much, Caley. I know I've heard of a lot, know that throughout this week, all of you guys have been put on the line. And I know it was probably like a turnaround of, you were going to be an NAACP and be an exec and make change, but boom, something happened and everyone's looking to you all. So it really does take courage. And I truly respect all of you guys, and I'm rooting, supporting, and just here as a resource in order to push the agenda that you all are leading and you all are fighting for. So thank you all so much for coming on and talking with me for a few minutes. Thank you all who are on the live stream and watching this live. This episode will also be uploaded in a few days on all platforms. But thank you guys. And that is it for this episode. And I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thank you.